nearly 4-decade-old cold case. Thanks to cutting-edge DNA technology, the arrest happening exactly 39 years to the day
when Parabon Nanolabs used that sample to create 3D models of the suspected killer's face.
It's heartbreaking. We miss her, and we're going to find her. We're going to keep looking till we do.
It's like a never-ending nightmare. It doesn't end. It keeps returning and coming back.
Hey, that was you. Did you hear yourself?
Yep, I heard her.
Yeah. Every episode, she's the last one to talk.
Yeah. Well, at the very end too, right? Because that is the exit, isn't it?
Linda is like our queen. You know, she was our very first episode we ever did with Locate and Lost. So.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. One way to do it, Mother. Okay, jump right in.
Yeah. So we got 5 or 6 people. We'll wait just a few more seconds here before we get going. I do appreciate you guys joining us tonight. All right. So tonight we're joined by Linda Perkins and her daughters Angel and Traci. They're here to talk about their father and husband, Ludger Belanger, who disappeared on November 25th, 1975 from Washington, Maine. Good evening, guys, ladies.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. So are you from Washington? Is that where you guys lived?
Yes, Washington, Maine.
There's not a whole lot going on in Washington, Maine, is there?
Very little. She still lives in the same place. Yeah, 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, Linda, could you talk about, maybe the days leading up to Ludger's disappearance and everything that took place?
Well, we were going hunting on that day, deer hunting. We had planned to leave early in the morning, and then
He was going to come back.
he was supposed to. We sat for a little while. We usually sit early in the morning, and then he brought me home. Well, his brother brought me home. He wanted to get off and hunt down through the woods to the county road and walk home. And
so how far away was that from your house?
Quarter of a mile, maybe. Yep, about a quarter of a mile. Right. But he never came home. Yeah, he was going to come take me to work because of the snowstorm. I didn't drive in the snow.
So about what time was it that you guys let him out of the vehicle, and then you said you and his brother drove home around 9 a.m.?
9 a.m. Yeah. So
what time was it that you were supposed to? Did he say how long he was going to be gone, or he was just going to be out just to do a little more hunting?
He'd be home by noon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he didn't come home, and I went next door, told him that he didn't come home yet.
Because his parents lived next door.
Right. His parents lived there.
Yeah.
So we went out on snowmobiles trying to find him.
Did you see his tracks or anything? Did you see anything? Because I assume this is like later, right? Around 4 or 5 in the afternoon?
Well, we went out because they knew he was supposed to be home to take me to work. So we went out earlier than that, probably 1, 2 o'clock. We was out riding around on snowmobiles trying to see him. We didn't follow his tracks across the field down to the woods. We didn't follow those. We just went on sleds, and they didn't follow the tracks until later on when the game wardens were called.
So did you see anything out of the ordinary, or
nothing?
Where did the tracks inevitably lead to?
Well, they went down through the woods. They come out onto an old tote road I can't remember the name of the road right now, but the old tote road. And that's where they found tracks and tire tracks. They found where he gutted a deer too. They found where he shot a deer and he gutted it. The game wardens did.
Did they say, like, how do they know that was his deer?
They followed his tracks.
Oh,
There was
yeah,
there was fresh snow, this morning. Fresh snow, and they could follow his tracks pretty good. So, because we showed them. I didn't show them where.
Wasn't it from it? The neighbor showed him.
Where he went in, and the gentleman that lived across the road from where we dropped him off, he was a professional tracker, and he told the game wardens where he went in, because he saw him. He was watching him.
So later on in the afternoon, you're probably pissed because he didn't show up to bring you to work, right? But at what point did you start getting worried?
Yeah, I was worried, and I kind of don't remember a lot that night. I was kind of messed up, and I ended up going by ambulance to the hospital. So I don't remember a lot about the rest of that day.
Right.
And let's touch on that too for a minute. How old were you when Ludger disappeared?
I was 20.
You're 20 years old, and you had 3 children at the time, right?
Yeah.
You guys got married at 16 years old?
I was 16, yeah.
Yeah. And how old was Ludger when he disappeared?
25.
So you're a young couple, 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
He was just out trying to get some food for winter.
Yep.
For his family.
And so they found the tracks, or his tracks stopped at the road, and that was the last sign of him, right? That was they didn't find any more tracks, like he'd gone back in across the road or anything. Just that it led up to that road, and that was.
Yeah, it showed him getting into the tracks. There was a car there.
They even found where he had leaned his gun up against a tree. They found the butt of a gun hole leaning up against the tree. They found that, and they found a receipt at the scene from
where the car got worked on that day. Something with the radiator or something down in Union at Walker's garage down there at the time.
So I do have a quick question here. Gary Karen asked, did he know the area well? I assume he did. He grew up there, right?
Yeah, he hunted there every year. But he hadn't lived there. He only lived there about a year, but he had relatives that were there, and he hunted there all the time.
Right. And it's one thing to go visit relatives somewhere and you can still not know the area. But if you're going to hunt an area, you're going to get really familiar with it really well.
Yeah.
Right.
He knew that he couldn't drag that deer by himself back uphill, so he dragged it to the tote road.
Okay.
He knew he could pull it out to the road and get a ride somewhere.
Right.
They had the car was on the tote road, and these 2 gentlemen. I don't know why I said gentlemen.
Let's get into that a little bit about what we know about the vehicle, or the receipt that was found for the vehicle. Now it was worked on earlier that day, or it was picked up earlier that day, right?
It was worked on that day. Yeah, they drove it to that garage.
Mm-hmm. And they did eventually find the vehicle, correct?
Yes, they found it in Camden.
Now, how far away is Camden from Washington?
Yeah, probably
half
20
hour,
miles.
maybe.
Yeah, half hour.
You can tell we're from Maine because we measure distance and time and not miles.
That's very, very true.
Yeah.
So here's something I want to say too is they tracked him to supposedly where this vehicle may have been parked. Both gentlemen that were in the vehicle urinated right in the snow.
Yes.
Like if this happened today, they would have had this, it would have been open shut case. It would have been closed within a week or two, right? They also saw where the driver had picked up his gun and put that, and that they had the deer in the back of the trunk.
Right. There was beer cans there,
There were beer cans at the location. They would have got DNA off those.
cigarette butts.
Yeah.
So when the officers went to the garage to talk to the mechanics and stuff, what did they have to say about these two individuals?
Said that they were drunk.
Intoxicated.
Yeah, that's a better word, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, they'd been drinking and they were loud,
They wouldn't let him in the car.
demanding.
They didn't want him to get into like.
Right.
Because they had been there twice that day, right? They had gone there that morning, which is why the receipt was in the snow. And then they went back that afternoon to have repairs done. Did they mention anything about the vehicle in the afternoon? Like, did they notice anything?
Nope. Just that they wouldn't let him get anywhere near.
Had they noticed a shotgun or something in the front seat between the seats?
They didn't say anything. Not that I know. I don't remember that part. There's another that I was told that the back window was shot out of it. So I don't understand if he went back to that garage and they didn't notice that there was no window in the back. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Right, and that's
confusing
my
to me.
understanding is when the police department seized the vehicle, there was no back seat, back window missing.
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Have you have confirmation of that? Is that what they told you as well?
Right. There was no back seat, and they found the back seat on a dump.
Oh, they did find the back seat. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Was there any evidence of gunshot or anything in the seat itself?
The seat was pretty burnt, but they don't think they found much.
Yeah, and what would be the reason for burning it, right? Unless maybe there was evidence there, either
Right.
blood or something, right?
Correct.
And I'm surprised they didn't just torch the whole vehicle.
Yeah, I know.
I think they found.
I mean, all this. So I understand that PD believes that the whole reason why they did this is to take his deer, right?
Do what?
Take his ear.
To
Yeah.
take his deer. That's what
Yeah.
the police thinks the motive was. I mean, how ridiculous to kill somebody. You're also losing your vehicle at this point because you've destroyed that.
Well, I mean, you're also trying to think about reasoning with a couple of guys that are drunk too, right? It could have been like he gets up to the road trying to get a ride. They stop, think maybe they're just going to take it from him, and Ludger tells him essentially exactly like go to hell, not going to happen. Like he's got his gun, maybe they grab theirs, and it escalated.
The reasoning they told me was when they got to the end of the tote road, instead of going right to bring him home, they went left, and he started in then probably.
Okay.
then
Right. It's probably like, hey, dude, my house is that way.
Suspect B kind of the one that wasn't driving.
But he was the owner of the vehicle, the passenger, correct?
Right. And the passenger leveled the gun over the back of the front seat and shot him while he was in the seat.
Right, and that would kind of explain why there wouldn't have been any broken glass at the scene, right? But
Right.
maybe it could have been down the road.
Somebody asked, are there any bears in the area? I'm sure there's bears in Washington, correct?
Yeah. I've had bears at my house, so.
And there's no evidence of Ludger having like a double life or anything like that, right?
No.
Oh.
God, no.
I don't even know why.
He had enough with me.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Did the police make any connection between Ludger and the two guys in the vehicle?
No.
He's never met, like, as far as you know, he had never met those two guys.
No. And
Just
then, I mean, they even came to me with a whole bunch of mug shots and asked me if I recognized anybody, and I didn't recognize anybody they showed me. So I don't.
Holly McCormick says, I had read that David Sevingston, is that how you say his name? What is it?
Swevenson.
Swevinston had insisted the garage fix the car. He was trouble. Yeah, I don't think they had a clean record. In fact,
No, they were very
Colorful.
colorful. That's a good.
High and drunk would be what I have.
Yeah, but their record.
Their record.
Their record was colorful, yes.
One of the podcasts did really lengthy.
Yeah.
Gary Karen asked where's the vehicle, and we already discussed that. Supposedly in the police crime lab,
Yep.
or
That's
so you're
where.
told.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let's talk about David real quick. So he was the driver, but he was not the owner of the vehicle.
Right.
Now, would you want to get into what happened to him and his family a few months later?
You mean about the fire?
Yeah.
You mean about trying to blow up his wife?
The explosion at the
Kind of, in my opinion. Yeah, he kind of filled his cellar full of gasoline, and without him knowing that his gas refrigerator had a leak, he lit a match to throw downstairs, and instead it blew him through the big window they had in the house, out the window.
Right.
Yeah.
And he eventually succumbed to his injuries. I know state police had gone down. Did he get flown to Texas?
Yeah,
did.
he did a burning
Yeah.
center there. Yeah.
So state police went down there supposedly to try to see if they could get deathbed confessional from him, and he did not say a word.
No,
I don't think he could.
apparently I heard that he died before they got there.
Oh,
That's
really?
what I
Okay.
was told.
Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of nice to see that they attempted at least, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're not sure if it was. I've heard a couple of things. There's an insurance ploy to try to blow up his house with no one in it. The other thing is his wife was upstairs when it happened, so
Yeah.
I don't think you like the match if she's still in the house, right?
I heard it was an insurance thing, and I also heard that she was upstairs. So I don't know. She got out a window up there, is what I was told.
Yeah. So David has passed away. He's one of the suspects in Ludger's disappearance. And then Pam Pierce asks, "Are those two guys still alive?" So yeah. So David has passed away, and then who's the other gentleman? That's one of the suspects or
Danny
person of
Collins
interest.
Jr.
Danny Collins Jr. Yeah,
Danny Collins Jr.
he is
I
the
remember.
last person of interest or suspect.
The first time you are our first guest on this podcast,
Hmm.
which thank you again
You're welcome.
for having faith in us. And soon after that, we were contacted by a relative of Danny's saying basically, you guys can't say stuff that's not true, and I'm not saying anything that's not true. I mean, he is the person of interest in the case.
Yeah,
It was his
absolutely.
vehicle that they've got sitting in their crime lab.
Right. And people are allowed to have opinions and speculate about stuff. It's just how it is.
There it is. I mean, we had to block all of them on Luigi's page because they were so foul-mouthed. They were, I don't blame them, I guess, in a way, but facts is
If they don't
facts,
know.
And like you
Yeah.
say, we do have opinions, and if we have a last known suspect, and he's always been a suspect, he's always been a person of interest. So that's just the way it is.
Did he ever admit to being in that area?
No, he said he wasn't.
He said his brother borrowed his car that day because his daughter-in-law got all up in my business because I said some things, and she said that his brother borrowed his car that day. He didn't even have his car in 1975. This was a couple years ago, and I don't know how the man would remember who had his car in 1975 if he wasn't there.
Right.
So, just saying.
Now the game wardens went to. Was it David's house they went to right after the disappearance, or was it
No, it
Where
was
did they
it was
go?
Danny's.
It was Danny's.
Danny's?
yeah.
Because he had a Corvette parked in his yard.
So they went there to talk to him.
Yeah.
I believe there was a
Yeah, the game warden report
news
is-
article about Ludger's case he had on the fridge or something.
Yeah, he
cut
had the
out.
newspaper clipping.
And while they're there, I guess one of the wardens had gone into another room or something where there's a freezer and they found deer meat. Yeah, he said he hadn't got a deer yet this year.
Right, he hadn't been hunting, he hadn't shot a deer, and it was Dick Hennessy that took I guess he said they needed to see something, and so Danny took him back. And while Danny was back there, John Marsh got into the freezer on top of the refrigerator, and there was deer meat in there that wasn't even frozen
wasn't
yet.
frozen.
So he put it back in his pocket, knowing he can't use it, but he put
They,
it back in his pocket and took it.
His biggest regret is that he didn't wait there for the search warrant.
Right.
one
I
of
was
them.
going to say, because they left and they came back with a search warrant. All of a sudden,
Correct.
things had disappeared, right?
Wreck everything.
Yeah, when they went back, there was nothing there.
And that just sort of shows how, like, probably procedures in police have changed over the years, and making sure you have a warrant probably before you go in and talk to a suspect, or
Mm-hmm.
Right.
at
and
least
it
staying there while they expedite a warrant at least.
Yeah.
Holly Nichols McCormick says you could tell in all his pictures how much he loved his wife and girls.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you. I don't remember him, but thank you.
Yeah. How old were you two when your
I was 4
dad
months old.
disappeared?
Tracy was 4 months old, and Angel was 23 months old.
Oh, so everyone understands that Angel is older than Tracy, so I'm sure Tracy appreciates that now.
I am, but I look younger.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Just
And we have an older sister too.
she's
How's that
wearing
growing up?
glasses.
How's that growing up? We had.
And what's your sister's name?
Michelle.
She was 3.5.
Michelle.
She was 3.5.
She was 3.5. So she probably remembers her dad some, huh?
She told me the thing she remembers the most is him letting her have a whole box of cereal sitting on the couch. watching TV.
It's the important things, right?
That sounds like a damn good memory, if you asked me.
Yeah.
How was life?
Yeah, I was at work and he let her have the whole box of cereal. That's what she remembers. Yeah, it was probably her dinner, you know.
So
I
for
don't-
you, for the other two girls, younger, what was life like growing up, not knowing what happened to your dad? Were people honest with you in the beginning, like that he disappeared, or what was said? Do you remember?
There were a lot of things that were said, but a lot of things that weren't said. My grandfather was bitter and angry about it, so he was not the person to go to for information. Mom didn't talk about it a lot because, well, I mean, it nearly killed her. So,
Right.
growing up in a small town, you hear things like they used him for lobster bait, or they put him in a septic tank, or not. Is it a septic tank or is it the?
Well,
There was wells. I mean, he was in Crystal Lake, or
Right. They
he
would
was.
say, no, the kids on the bus would be like,
They
"Ask
fed him
you."
to the pigs or something like
Oh
that.
man.
Yeah,
It's-
like
I
on the
can't-
school, they'd be like, "They're in the lake today" or something, because they would go through times where they would drag.
didn't they say
Crystal
one
Lake.
of them said that they found your dad's leg in Crystal Lake?
I don't know.
Or something like
Probably
that.
something
That was on the
But
bus.
just kids would just say stuff. I mean, because it was just
Small town,
Wow.
very small town.
Just crazy that they would say that type of stuff, though.
Yeah, it's evil stuff.
All right, let's call these kids' parents. What's their names? No.
Yeah.
people were just saying what
Yeah, they would, the
Or
kids,
being-
they would hear things. They listen to parents, and then they'd talk at school. So it was hard for them.
All right, so this person, Lisa Kennedy, said, I'm new here. They believe he was murdered, if you've already said that. Yes, they believe that Ludger had shot a deer. They have evidence that he'd shot a deer, dragged it out to a tote road. Two gentlemen who had been drinking and possibly doing drugs of some sort, which, I mean, drugs back then is probably just marijuana. Who knows?
Right.
But they were still out doing whatever they were doing, and that they took his deer. I think maybe Ludger resisted, and that sounds like they probably shot him in the back seat. The car was later found without the back window or back seat. The back seat had been burned and put in the local dump.
And
Yeah.
the bodies never been found.
And Ludger has never been found.
Now, they did recently say that they had found a pair of pants out in the woods, though, right? Green
Yeah,
hunting pants.
Out near the area, in the area where he went hunting. I mean, I went there, I met there was, there was, investigators and game wardens. And so the detective that had my husband's case at the time, and this was 3 years ago in April, he called me and asked me to meet him at about 1:00 that day. So I did, but down at the old tote road where it came out. And they laid the pants, they brought the pants over. It had rope with it too, because I said, those are the type of pants he was wearing. They were the color he was wearing. They're the size of him. Can I say they're his? No. They were all deteriorated.
Checked all the boxes though.
It was all deteriorated. You could still tell it was a pair of pants. And it had, there was a rope all rolled up. And I said, well, he carried rope to drag a deer,
Right.
But can I say they were his? No.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the rope.
Huh?
Because I was going to ask you about the rope because that's what my dad used to do too, is carry rope with him in case he catches a deer. It's much easier to drag a deer out with a rope than trying to just drag it by its legs or horns.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Brenda asked, was Danny Collins Jr. at the garage when they brought the car in the second time?
Yes.
Yeah, both guys were there, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Both times, yeah. But the last time I saw those pants, but they were sending them to a lab in Texas because it was a more sophisticated lab, apparently. And but I haven't heard a word from them, and it's been almost 3 years now. So.
Yeah. A friend of mine said, I've invited Linda Perkins to your Ludger Belanger show. She is his wife. Like, oh, well, I'm actually talking to her. Yeah. Angela Stevens. Do you know who that is? I actually went to high school with Angela Stevens.
I know the name. Yeah, Ludger. He went to Madomic the last year. He graduated there. So in Waldoboro, Maine, yeah.
And then was it 2001 that you had petitioned the courts to declare him dead?
Yes.
And they didn't have an issue with it, right? Because obviously you guys at that point, I think it was like 24 years or, no, I guess my math is way off.
Years. And
Yeah.
I had a letter from the state police saying their efforts and what they believe happened and that they believe that he is now deceased. I had that letter and
It's right in my phone, but we're using it. If you go on Justice for Ludger Belanger, all of that stuff is on there.
Yeah, I actually was looking at that earlier tonight. The letter and the declaration saying that he has been deceased.
Yep.
I don't know how you did it, Linda, at 20 years old to have 3 young children and have this happen to you. I guess obviously you're a strong woman.
It was hard. Still is sometimes, but it was hard. But if I didn't have my girls, I don't think I would have made it.
Right.
I don't know.
And it's not like you got any sort of life insurance policy from Ludger's disappearance, because you waited 25 years to have him declared dead, because I assume you didn't want to believe it yourself.
No, there was no insurance.
Brenda Lee parents said, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No.
Hi, Brenda.
Brenda Lee parents said, okay, so he lied. He didn't lend his car to his brother. He was at the garage. Absolutely. But again, if this happened today, there would be cameras at the garage to say, hey, he's full of shit. He's right here in my garage.
See, my thing, and I've tried to, when the cold case unit was available, my thing is, with all the evidence they took that day, with all the car, all the evidence, the beer cans, the cigarettes, the whatever they got, and they use the technology today with it. Why can't they? Why won't they? That frustrates me beyond
If they
measure.
still have it, why not?
It would be a closed case today.
So,
And I remember the first time we talked to you, you had mentioned that you had talked to someone at the crime lab, and they basically said, well, I mean, it's been however many years that Ludger's been gone. We'd rather spend the money on more recent cases.
well, we were all supposed to have our time to sit down with the detectives and Renee Ordway. She was the advocate for the ones left behind, you might as well say. And she's the one that told me that Ludger's case was too old and they were going to focus on more recent cases. Those were her words. So I had to really grit my teeth.
I bet. It would be a tough conversation.
And I was told once we live in a bubble and we need to get over it.
Who the hell said that?
I don't know if I should say.
An asshole. That's who.
He was governor at the time.
Oh,
Really?
LePage.
Really?
Right
Wow.
out of the-
I was actually surprised by that.
Yeah, I was shocked.
I'm sure you were too.
It wasn't just
No.
me. There was a few families. You know, you guys live in a bubble. A bubble.
A bubble. A bubble.
Anyway, you know, and we had, I mean, we had a company come from California.
I was just
He
going to ask
wanted-
this.
They were gonna use
Focus
it
on
like,
cold cases in
they were
Maine.
gonna focus on cold cases in Maine, and they were about 20 families met him down at Wamata Inn in Portland. When we had a couple hours, talked, told us what they were gonna do, you
Is it
know.
blue something.
Yeah, Blue Jet, something or other, I can't remember. But they said they had to get the okay from the AG's office.
And who was the Attorney General at that time?
Janet Mills.
I like shocked. I like shocked.
But they got threatened with
Because police, game wardens, any form of law enforcement are not allowed to talk about any case at all whatsoever. Whether it be 50 years cold or it happened yesterday, they're not allowed.
she told them that she would sue them with a case hindering an investigation.
Hindering investigation. Yeah.
That's the word.
They're trying to help, dumbass.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I had
Thank you.
I had
Thank
a FBI couple that was retired. They wanted to take his case and go over it, fresh eyes, see what they could come up with, you know. And
Yeah.
they were told, no way.
There you
Yeah, very young.
are.
So is this who is with you right here? Is this Michelle?
That's
Or is
Tracy.
this Tracy?
That's
Oh, okay.
Tracy, my youngest.
That's their prom.
Yes, for like Linda, I think I've known you for at least over 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
And this whole time I thought this was your wedding. I just found out tonight this is actually your prom.
I wore white. Stop it.
Ain't he handsome?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing him never gets old.
I remember
I miss him.
back a few years ago I sent you it's a program that like makes the face move.
There
And
she is in her wedding dress.
there she
Wait a minute.
is.
Okay. You sent me what?
I had sent you a picture one time where it like takes an image and then it has it move. Do you remember that?
Oh my God.
See
that
like
gave
him
me
smile and
such
stuff.
Goosebumps. Yeah. I don't even know where that is now. I haven't
It's
seen
still in the
that.
messenger. I saw it the other day when I was in there. I went back through and looked through our messages just to see if there's anything
You'll have
I
to
was
send it to
forgotten
me
about.
again. I don't know where that is.
All right.
If you can.
Actually, well, yep.
It's but
Look
that
how
gave me
young you two were.
very young, very young. That's the day I shot some pheasants. Yeah. You see that bruise on his shoulder right there?
Yeah.
That's not a bruise. That's something in the picture.
Yeah,
And
it's
it
kind of
gives
on the
me a
walls here
willy.
too.
Huh?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It
Just
just
knowing
gives
what
me
you
the
know now.
willies because I don't know where he was shot. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Seeing that just it always gave me.
You had
sick
told me one
inside.
time that he was always smiling, and I think you
Yeah.
were the reason why he was smiling.
Oh, thanks. I'd like to think so. But
Either that or it's his deer that he was getting. He was a big hunter, right? He went hunting
Yeah.
here.
hunted. He was a big hunter, a big fisherman. He loved sports.
Outdoors in general, right?
Outdoors.
All things outdoors.
What did he do for work?
He was a mechanic on big
Skidders
machinery,
and-
skidders
Like
and
diesel
dump
mechanic?
truck. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So
we're pretty
Janine Colson said, "I remember when I was a kid, I remember hearing something about they should check the old Camden dump. Did they ever search there? Now, is that where they actually found the back seat?
You know, I have heard that it was the Union dump. I've heard that it was an Augusta dump. I don't know what's true.
Okay.
So all I know it was found on a dump, burnt. I'm not really sure which one. They lived in
Holly McCormick
Camden,
said.
so
Right.
Holly McCormick said, "Oh, look at you two." Danielle's my wife. She said, "Me too." So I think it was about the comment about you made him smile. They were young and beautiful.
And
thanks, guys.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Jennifer Horn says, "Love you, Aunt Linda."
Ah,
Oh, hi, Jenny.
There was another message up here too for hello, Angel May from Brenda Lee Parent.
Hello, Brenda.
So yeah, you guys have a lot of followers, a lot of people that are hoping that this case is finally solved for you and that Ludger's brought home for sure.
that's what we pray for all the time. Just want him brought home, and we want to lay him to rest our way, not their way. Whether that will ever happen, you know.
All right,
It's
hold on, I
not
gotta
looking good,
share one more
but
thing.
you can never give up.
See what?
I said it's not looking good, but you can never give up.
Right. David
No.
Benner says, "Thinking of you, Linda. Hope you get results."
Thank you, David.
So this is the Facebook page. It's called Justice for Ludger Belanger. I'm sure you guys would take as many people as possible that willing to follow the page and try to help you solve case.
I shared the link to it once before, and I'll share it again.
Oh, okay, that's what that was because I
Yeah,
showed
that's
it
what
up
that
here. I'm
was.
like, oh wait,
Yeah, that's the link to the Facebook page itself, so you guys can go
Yeah.
there and join. Or
I think
Thank
right now
you.
we have like 30 people watching. So if those 30 people could take a second and just jump over and like that page and follow along with Ludger's story, that'd be awesome.
It would be. We'd all appreciate it.
and Cindy Goodwin says, "Your family is always here for you."
Thank you,
Love
Cindy.
you, Aunt Cindy.
I'm surprised she remembered. She said she was going to watch if she remembered. Listen.
Oh, good. Thank you for watching, Aunt Cindy.
Yes. She's the
Is
best.
there anything you want to say to, maybe Danny Collins Jr. himself or anyone else that might know what happened to Ludger?
Be very careful. when
Putting you on
you
the spot here. In my opinion,
You're asking a lawyer.
Okay. My opinion. You start off with my
if you had one thing to say to the people responsible, what is it that you'd say?
In my opinion, Danny Collins Jr. murdered my father. In my opinion, he is a coward. In my opinion, if he had any balls whatsoever, he would, in fact, at least give us what is left of him. In my opinion, he's just a wretched human, and
Yep.
well, that's about as much as I got.
And even if
It was being kind.
somebody posts an anonymous tip, if someone's willing to do that,
That would be
post
great.
anonymous tip is where
Anything.
we could find
I
Ludger
don't
so we
even
could bring
care
him
if
home for
he-
his family.
Can you repeat that?
I said if we could just find, if someone could just post an anonymous tip as to where we can find Ludger and have him be brought home for you and his family. Like that's
Yes.
all we're asking. If
That's
you're going to
it.
be a coward and not say what you did and who you are, then just
Right.
do
always
it
anonymous.
anonymously.
That's right.
We don't care, anonymous or not. We just would like to bring him home.
We
And
don't
at this
care if
point-
he goes to jail. We just want him. We don't want don't want him. Just want him. That's it. Just want
I
our
was
dad
gonna-
and our husband. That's all.
I was going to say that too. You know, you guys probably don't even want to see him prosecuted or anything. You just want to find Ludger, bring him home, give him proper
Exactly.
burial.
Don't care.
Don't care.
He'll get his
And
in
hey,
the end.
The only thing that has no statute of limitation is murder, right? So
Right. And you know
if this
what?
person was the one to shoot or do whatever to Ludger, then if you're an accessory to a crime, you can't be, punished at this point. So blame it
And
on the
even-
other dude. Who cares?
Even if Danny Collins doesn't say anything, somebody knows. Anybody.
Yeah, there's
Somebody.
after this amount of time, you'd have to assume that whoever did this had spilled the beans at one point in time and said something.
We've had people that have told us stories about what Danny has said, things Danny has done. Maybe all hearsay, but not. It's pretty legit in my opinion, and I believe that he's just a coward. He's not going to be the one that is going to do this.
Somebody
Well, how
else.
about this?
Somebody
Like-
else has to.
The
Danny,
thing
if you didn't do it, Danny, just turn on David. Tell us that he did it. I don't even care. Or you guys don't care at this point.
Exactly.
And then just tell us
Just
where he
tell,
is. That's
tell us where he
all.
is.
That's
Where he
it.
is.
Just tell us where he is.
That's what we want most.
That's what we want. That's it.
And who knows? Maybe Danny was an innocent bystander, and he felt like he had to keep his mouth shut all these years. Holly Nichols McCormick says, "Praying for you all, hoping he is found and brought home."
Thank you, Holly.
Julie Bergeron, she just liked your page. Praying for all and hoping you can get some closure soon.
Thank you. Anything you want to chime in, Tracy?
I think you covered it, dear.
Yeah, she could.
Did I
Oh,
do
come on,
correct?
Tracy.
She's much more politically correct than I am.
You did fine.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. Jennifer Horn
All right.
says, let Ludger come home so the family can say their final goodbye where he belongs.
Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jenny.
Jenny.
yeah, for sure. All right, so as the people watching understand that Thanksgiving's coming up, you're going to get to spend your time with your family, enjoy them, absolutely enjoy them. Just remember that Ludger's family will never get to enjoy his company again. He disappeared November 25th, 1975, just 2 days before Thanksgiving. And like we talked about earlier, Thanksgiving sometimes falls on the 25th, right? So I'm sure it's a painful holiday for you all.
It is.
We hate it.
Always
But
will
it's
be.
it's nice to see how much support you guys have through all of this. There's a lot of love is being shared around.
There is.
And we appreciate it. Thank you.
There always has been,
Yeah.
He is blowing in the shop.
my
She's
parents.
not really big
My
fan.
parents are both still alive, and they love Ludger like a son.
I was going to ask you if your parents are still around.
Yep.
Did the warden search more where the pants were found. So the pants were found because the guy was making trails up behind his
Yeah, he
bed
owns
and
a bed
breakfast, or
breakfast, and he was out there with his excavator or whatever type of machinery he owns, and he was out there just making roads, and the pants were dug up, you know.
did they
Very
have
shocking.
cadaver dogs cock the area at all? That you
They
know of?
did. They did when
They
they
did.
came back. And they were gonna come back again, but we got that stupid foot of snow that year on April 10th.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you and I were talking at the time, I think.
Uh-huh.
Um,
So, you know, it's I don't know if they ever went back. They never contacted me, so but that's the way it is. I have little faith in law enforcement. They just communication isn't good.
and I try not to stick up for them too often, but it feels like, you know, the cold case squad was supposed, like, you're part of the cold case alliance, and you guys had fought to try to get funding for a cold case squad, but you wanted dedicated detectives, right? Not just when they had a chance they could work on these cases. And that's what's
in
going
between
on
their
now.
other cases.
They're working on current cases and then go back to these cases. Well, current cases don't stop. They don't slow down.
No.
And
they were
well, same
only
thing with
supposed to-
old cases. They're not gonna, like, you can't
not
work
going
on.
away.
They're not gonna go away if you don't work on them.
Right. They're on a box in the back on a shelf.
Right. It's like they're paying them to procrastinate.
Yep, for 2 years, and then apparently it was only, I was told it was only approved for 2 years. So now there is not one.
That's awful.
Yep.
Yvonne Bragdon says, "My heart goes out to you and your family. Hope you get closure soon. Been way too long."
Thank you, Yvonne.
And Justice for Rob Morrison's yours says, "November is the hardest month for me. Sending you love and hugs as well as keeping you in my prayers."
Now, who was that? What was
Justice
that
for Rob Morrison Jewers. So it's a page,
okay.
but we actually had interviewed her. It's her
Yep.
brother that had passed away with an unsolved homicide.
Yep.
All right. You ladies have anything else before we end this?
And we just want to thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't have to thank us at all. Thank you for being on here with us. We're happy to share this any stories that we can about, you know, just anything we can do to try and get answers to families.
Well, we appreciate it, and we appreciate you. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And I wish we had nothing to talk about. I wish we had no one to interview. Obviously,
It's amazing how many
means-
you have.
yeah, it's
It's
insane. And that's just main. Like we've covered all over the U.S. and I think a couple of Canadian stories and Mexico stories, but obviously we live in Maine, so Maine's our primary focus. And it's insane how many cases there are just in Maine. And then you multiply that by 50 states, and then you multiply that by all the different countries in the world. It's awful.
It's scary. It's terrible. How many there actually is. I really didn't realize it until I started, you know, learning more about cold cases and how many there are and
It's an
missing.
epidemic.
It's terrible.
Missing
Yeah.
people, missing everything.
All right, ladies, you have a good night, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, you guys take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.